Hey guys, today we're making these pillowy soft, melt in your mouth custard donuts. They're delicious and comforting and better than any store-bought donuts you'll ever have. I'm also going to show you how to properly fill these donuts so that they really ooze with custard with every bite. I'm going to combine the dry ingredients first, including the nutmeg, which adds amazing flavor. In this measuring cup, I've combined the milk, melted butter, eggs, and yeast. Now, I do want to address a question I always get when making breads and doughs, and that's why I don't let this mixture stand for 10 minutes, why I don't activate the yeast. It's not necessary. The yeast will activate just fine on its own. The only time you want to let this mixture sit is if you're using yeast that's maybe been laying around for a long time and you're not sure if it's alive. In that case, do wait until this foams up. Otherwise, it's not necessary. Give your dry ingredients a quick toss and add the yeast mixture. If you're making the dough by hand, this could take up to 10 minutes to knead and come together, so be patient. If you're using a stand mixer, start on low just to begin with, and then mix the dough on high for about 3 minutes. This dough will be quite sticky. Do not be tempted to add extra flour. At the most, you can add an additional tablespoon of flour, but keep in mind we're looking for a soft dough. You're going to transfer your dough into a greased bowl. I do always like to give my dough somewhat of a shape, and here you can really tell how smooth and supple this dough should be. If it's not this soft and smooth, keep kneading it for another minute. Cover the dough, and we're going to set it aside to rise while we make the custard. You can make this custard up to 3 days in advance, and I know you may be thinking, I'm already making donuts from scratch. Do I really need to make the custard from scratch? You do. Custard is one of the easiest things to make. It takes 10 minutes, especially with this method I'm showing you, and it tastes phenomenal. The easiest way to make custard is to make a slushy with the cornstarch, sugar, and some milk, and then add the remaining milk and the whisked eggs right away. This allows the eggs to come up to temperature slowly with the milk, so you're tempering the eggs while you're heating the milk. Your flame should be on medium-low. You never want to walk away when you're making custard. Keep stirring it, especially around the sides of the pan, because that's where the custard starts to thicken. As soon as your mixture starts to thicken, wait for it to come to a simmer. As soon as it comes to a simmer, it's done. Turn off the stove, give it one last stir, and add the vanilla. Now this cream needs to cool, so you're going to transfer it into a heat-proof safe bowl. Cover it with some plastic wrap, pressing it directly onto the cream so skin doesn't form, and you're going to pop this cream into the fridge until ready to use. Okay, so fast forward 2 hours later, your dough should have doubled in size. You're going to flour your work area. Make sure you flour well. Remember, this dough is soft, so it will stick to your board if you don't flour it well. Now, I did double the recipe this time, so I'm going to be getting lots of donuts today. You do want to roll out this dough pretty thinly, I'd say to about 1/2 inch thickness, and I'm using, just the basic cookie cutter to cut out my donuts, but even a glass is perfectly fine to use. Now, these may seem quite small. You'll see in a moment just how small these will look. However, please keep in mind that these will puff up quite a lot. If you make these really big, you'll have one gigantic donut floating in your frying oil, which sounds amazing, but you'll have a hard time cooking it. Cover the donuts, and you're going to let these rise again for another 30 minutes. Okay, so moving on to frying these donuts, you want to use a good quality frying oil. It's crucial you allow the oil to come up to temperature, and the best temperature for frying donuts is around 160 degrees Celsius or 320, 330 Fahrenheit. If you have a thermometer, you may want to use it. If you don't have one, as long as your donuts are bubbling gently, you're good. Cook 3 to 4 donuts at a time on each side. Do not overcrowd the pan or the oil temperature will drop, and you'll know they're ready because they've become a beautiful golden brown. You're going to place these onto a wire rack or some paper towels, and while they're still hot, you're going to toss them into some sugar. This is just plain granulated sugar. If you want to add a dash of cinnamon, go ahead. Now, I'm going to show you how to properly fill these donuts. You want to take anything that's, I want to say long and sharp. I'm using this piping tip. but even a thin knife or chopstick is fine. You're going to create an opening in the donut, and you want to make sure to swirl the nozzle around. This will create space for the custard. If you don't do this, you'll find you won't be able to fit as much custard in the donut as you'd like. Fill the donuts until they become heavy. That's how you'll know they're perfectly filled. I'm going to immediately open this one up for you so you can see how amazing these donuts are. Not only are these incredibly soft and melt in your mouth, but the custard just takes these to another level. Listen, it's cold out, it's winter. If you want to stay in one day, make these donuts and it will be the most amazing winter day.